Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Invest in Malaysia podcast.
Welcome to our deep dive on the 2026 Malaysian residential property outlook.
Great to be here.
Our mission today is pretty simple. We're trying to find the precise sweet spots for local investors in what the data is really showing as a great divergence market.
Right. It's not one single market anymore.
Exactly. It's about how aggressive policy and new infrastructure are creating these very specific zones of opportunity. So, first things first, what's the big picture? What's the foundation of the economy looking like?
The foundation is, well, it's stable. It's resilient. We're looking at GDP growth forecasts between 3.8 and about 4.5%.
Okay, so solid growth.
Solid. And inflation is low, sitting somewhere between 1.3 and 2.0%. That macro stability is really the key.
And the financing side of things.
Crucially, the financing environment is, you could call it Goldilocks. Bank Negara Malaysia is holding the overnight policy rate, the OPR, at 2.75%.
And there's no pressure to raise that.
Almost none domestically.
Yeah.
In fact, some analysts are even forecasting a potential rate cut in 2026.
Wow.
So that de-risks your long-term debt in a big way.
Okay, so let's unpack this policy barbell you mentioned. The government is actively, engineering the market with stamp duty.
They are.
So tell us about the incentive they've put in place for local buyers.
They're targeting the absolute core of the market. First-time home buyers, or FTHB. Budget 2026 extends the full 100% stamp duty exemption for any property priced at RM 500,000 and below.
And that price band, that's the majority of sales, right?
It's huge. It accounts for nearly 78% of all residential transactions. So this isn't a niche policy, it's a massive national level subsidy.
Right. And on the other side of that barbell, they've put up a barrier for foreign buyers.
A pretty serious one. They've doubled the stamp duty for them to a flat 8%.
Just to curb that luxury speculation.
Exactly. But to make the affordable market even stronger, they've allocated RM 20 billion for the Housing Credit Guarantee Scheme, the SJKP.
What does that do specifically?
It unlocks financing for people who've traditionally struggled to get it. We're talking about self-employed and gig economy workers.
So if I'm a gig worker, this new scheme helps me qualify for a loan to buy one of those sub 500K homes.
That's the idea. It creates this massive new pool of qualified buyers, adding resilience right where the government wants it.
That makes a lot of sense. So if the policy is funneling all this demand into the affordable space, why does that push people to the secondary or subsale market?
Well, this is what we're calling the great disconnect. Developers are really caught in a trap here.
How so?
New residential launches are falling. They're down 46% year on year.
46%? Wow.
Right. But at the same time, 70% of those developers expect their construction costs to rise by at least 3%.
So they can't build new affordable units without losing money.
They just can't. They can't absorb those costs without raising prices above that critical RM 500,000 threshold. The primary market is failing to deliver.
So the FTHBs, with their stamp duty waiver?
Exactly. They'll take that waiver and that new SJKP financing and apply it to a perfectly good 5-year-old subsale unit priced at, say, RM 450,000, not a brand new launch.
This is where it gets really interesting then. The infrastructure piece. We're moving from a promise of infrastructure to real guaranteed utility. Let's start with Johor, the RTS link.
Yes, the RTS link is an immediate rental catalyst. It's a 4-kilometer line connecting Johor Bahru to Singapore, and it's set to open in late 2026.
So just around the corner.
And this is huge. It creates a permanent, high-yield rental market that is effectively underwritten by the Singaporean economy.
And what are the numbers looking like?
Rental yields are already hitting 6 to 8% in prime spots like Bukit Shigar, and the projections are for 5 to 10% annual capital appreciation.
That's immediate utility.
High-grade utility, yes.
Okay, and for the Klang Valley, the big one is the MRT3 Circle Line.
That's the long game. Construction is kicking off in 2026 or 2027.
So this is the time to get in.
Yes. 2026 is your ideal entry point for patient, long-term capital. The value appreciates most sharply when construction starts, not just when the line is finished.
So the strategy is to look at future interchange stations.
Absolutely. Places like those along Old Klang Road. You buy there for a 5 to 10-year hold for capital appreciation.
So to sum it up for everyone listening,
the core strategy for you is clear. You want to align your investments with these policy tailwinds. So that's the sub-RM 500K subsale market, and follow the proven infrastructure.
The RTS for rental, MRT3 for growth.
Exactly. And you avoid that luxury market, which is getting squeezed by the new foreign tax.
That really brings the strategy into sharp focus. But let me just leave you with one final thought to consider.
Go on.
The new Energy Efficiency and Conservation Act, the EECA 2024, is now mandatory. It sets energy standards for buildings.
Right, for both commercial and residential.
So if non-compliant buildings risk becoming stranded assets, harder to finance, harder to rent, is future-proofing your investment with an ESG retrofit now the new defensive financial strategy for 2026. Think about that potential premium.